Hello and welcome to another MedSchool Gladiator edition. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of navigating the application, the primary application that is, because applying to medical school is going to be a two-step process where you complete a primary application followed by a secondary application. Now, your primary application is going to be completed with the AMCAS application service, and there are three main types of applications that you can do. You can, of course, do the regular MD, and then there's the early decision program. The early decision program allows you to apply to one school with a deadline of August the 1st where you get taken care of first. Your applications are looked at first. That means that you are so interested in this program that you have neglected all others and you only want to apply to this program. That means you either did some research there, some summer program or other program there, or you just really match up very well to their mission statement, the grades of the entering class match up, and as well as your MCAS score. So if you're super interested in a institution, early decision program is a great way to go. And if you're not accepted by October 1st is when they have to let you know, then you get put into the regular application pool with the rest of the schools. Also, you can do a dual degree program where you can declare up front that, hey, I'm interested in doing an MD, PhD, or another common one is the MD and PH, which is the Master of Public Health. So moving forward from the primary application types will be your letters of recommendation. Now I'm going to just jump down to timeline because May 1st is this year when the application was open for population. So when it's open for population, this is a great time to start getting those letters of recommendation authors together, know who they are, and go ahead and submit the request. Ask them, see if they're available to do that for you. And, send gentle reminders. Let them know, hey, don't forget about me. I really need a letter of recommendation to help me achieve my goal of entering medical school. Check your program requirements. Different programs are going to require different things from that. It can be either they want a committee letter, one of them has to be a science professor, one has to be a humanities professor. Everybody has their different requirements, so just make sure you check because that's an easy way to not be following directions. And you don't want to not follow directions on such a simple task. So just make sure you research all programs that you're applying to really well. Back to the timeline. May 1st, 2019 is when the application for the 2020 entering class opened up for population. So all you can do is populate it, fill out the demographic info, fill out who's going to be your letters of recommendation authors, and then you get to the coursework portion. And of course, the rest. But May 30th is the first day that you can go ahead and submit your application. And I think it's a common misconception that once you submit, it's just, all right, it's in there. You're going to have a delay. Maybe about a 4 to 8 week delay depending on when you submit for MCAS application service to verify your application. And by that, they're mainly verifying that the coursework is correct and matches up to your transcripts. Attention to detail entering your coursework is very important. A hiccup that happened to me happened right here. My university went plus or minus system later on in my undergraduate career, and I didn't indicate on those later grades plus or minus because I wasn't used to the plus or minus system. I only had one or two semesters with it, and that caused my application to be returned. Now, if your application is returned to you, even if you submit it on May the 30th, say June the 21st, it got returned to you, now your new submission day is June the 21st. So that is okay if you were early, but imagine you were late. You submitted maybe July 31st, and by the time they got to you, it was maybe August 31st, and then now you have a new deadline. So a new submission date. So if you had a deadline of August 1st, to say maybe you wanted to do early decision program, you have now missed that deadline. You can no longer do early decision program. Let's try it again next year. So you have to really be attention to detail. Another thing, make sure transcript request forms are put in with your transcripts when they're sent to MCAS. Emphasize this with the registrar's office at your university. They should be pretty used to sending out these things. If not, just it always can't hurt to stay on top of these things. The same thing goes here. You need to include that letter request form to make sure that they can identify you and your application is a barcode on there that you can have scanned. To keep up with some of these details, a great tool is the AAMC Pre-Med Calendar. All these days, I took them straight off of the AAMC Pre-Med Calendar. You should check that out. And of course, June 28th this year was the first day that once your application was verified, that they will send it to medical schools. Some declarations that you can include is the MedMar. I wasn't familiar with this when I was applying, but you can do this during your MCAT. They said upon entry to your MCAT location, you should be prompted to accept or decline the MedMar registry. That is the Medical Minority Applicant Registry, and that sends your application to selected AAMC affiliated programs that need or really want underrepresented minorities. So if you go ahead and declare that, of course, I don't think it can hurt. Disadvantaged status is also another declaration that you can make. It would ask you or prompt you to write a 1,325 character essay explaining what were the socioeconomic disadvantages that you faced. Maybe you grew up in an underserved health professional shortage area, or many things of that nature. I am going to attach in the comments a PDF of all of this information, but more detail. Definitely check out if you want to be considered a disadvantaged status, because not all of us started from the same place. You know, some of us started in the negatives. We didn't start at zero. So it's interesting to keep your story cohesive and be honest on your application. If you had disadvantaged status, if you had disadvantages coming up, schools want to know that. They want to understand you. They want to understand your story. When it comes to selecting medical schools, a physician mentor of mine asked me a very great question. They asked me, where do graduates from your university go? That was freshman year when I got to my university. And I said, you know what? That's a very good question. And I went ahead and looked that up. So I looked into it and realized my university, North Carolina A&T, I'm a two-time Aggie, have to throw that in there, the illustrious North Carolina A&T. We have an early assurance program with Brody School of Medicine. So that means about 4 slots are secured for high schoolers that come in, and so long they maintain a certain GPA, they go ahead and get a seat that is selected for them from freshman year. So not only did they have the early assurance program, but lots of Aggie alums went on to our North Carolina medical schools, which are like mainly Brody School of Medicine and Chapel Hill. Of course, we had some diversity where others went to other places, Campbell University and things of that nature. But where do graduates from your university go? Because that kind of stands out to the universities. Of course, they want you to be affiliated to the area, and going to a university that's close by shows a connection that you have to the area. You might also want to consider research opportunities available at the institution, and does the mission statement align to your life, your values, and your culture? Because to be honest, every university has a culture, and this whole process is kind of grilling you, not only for them to understand, do you fit within their culture, but are they a good fit for you? So everything behind me is going to come together to form a story. And that story is going to be you and your journey to medicine, what drives you, what is your passion about medicine, and what have you done to demonstrate that passion for medicine. So now your work and activities section is going to be 15 entries that you can make. You're going to, out of the 15, you're going to identify 3 of them that are most meaningful. And of that, you're going to select 1 that is your most meaningful medical experience, job, or activity that you have. Something to think about is to always make sure that you secure a person of contact and the amount of hours that you spent doing the activity, because that's you're going to need to include that when you name an activity or a job that you did. Study your application. I put that in red, and it is very, very important. As pre-meds, you know, we know how to study. And you're going to need to study this, especially even coursework. I think it was very reflective. It was a very reflective experience to do my coursework, to enter in every grade that I've ever taken in college. Because you kind of think like, wow, I kind of dropped the ball there, or wow, I really did good here. And to understand what was going on at the time. So not really to make an excuse, because it doesn't need to be an excuse like, oh, I was working 40 hours a week while I was taking this class. But it could also be, hey, this was my first chemistry class. I wasn't familiar how to study with chemistry. But you know what? My following semester, I was able to get an A in chemistry part 2. So always spin your negative into a positive and study your application. Because if you're in an open style interview, anything on your application is fair game to ask you about. And coming back to working activities, if you include some research or an activity, be able to talk about it flawlessly and eloquently. Don't just throw something on there because you think it look good. Have it mesh with your cohesive story and be able to talk about it very, very well. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but the MSAR, the Medical School Application Requirements, that's also a great tool to use and see if you align to a university competitively enough. So do you match up with the grades that the entering class have? Do they accept international students? Everything that you need to know about a medical school is right here. I hope that this video was helpful. After this, the primary application comes your secondary applications. I will do a video specifically on that, but just as a heads up, certain schools are going to filter applications. They're only going to give you a secondary if they like you on paper, and some schools, it's just an automated thing where they send them out. Something that you can do during this verification time is look up the secondary application questions. Some universities post them readily, or you can find them using some other online resource. It will help you definitely to stay abreast and kind of stay ahead in the game, because once all those secondaries come in, you want to be able to just kick them right back out. So secondary essays up next. I hope this video helped. Enjoy the rest of your day.